I'd like to call to order the May 3rd, 2016 meeting of the Sayreville Board of Education. Everybody please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Board Secretary, has this meeting been advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act?
Yes, it has, Mr.
A roll call, please.
Mr. Bowker.
Here.
Mrs. Backo.
Here.
Mr. Bashada.
Here.
Mrs. Bloom.
Here.
Mr. Sire. Mrs. DePinto.
Here.
Mr. Esposito.
Here.
Mr. Walsh.
Here.
And Mr. McEnroe.
I am present. Need a motion to go into close?
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please read the resolution.
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975 permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore it be resolved by the Board of Education, Borough of Sayreville, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of any action upon the hereinafter specified subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Personnel, including but not limited to agenda items, attorney-client privilege, health benefits, negotiations, Sayreville Education Association contract.
Roll call.
It is anticipated at this time the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as the need for non-disclosure no longer exists. This resolution shall take effect immediately. Mr. Bowker?
Yes.
Mrs. Backo?
Yes.
Mr. Bashada?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Mrs. DePinto?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh? And Mr. McEnroe.
Yes. Yes, the Board 2016 meeting of the Sayreville Board of Education. Everybody please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Board Secretary, this meeting has been advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act.
Yes, it has, Mr. McEnroe.
Get a roll call, please.
Mr. Bowker?
Here.
Mrs. Backo?
Here.
Mr. Bashada?
Here.
Mrs. Bloom?
Here.
Mrs. DePinto?
Here.
Mr. Esposito?
Here.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
And Mr. McEnroe.
Come here. Please synopsize executive session.
This evening, in executive session, personnel, including but not limited to agenda items, attorney-client privilege, health benefits, negotiations, Sayreville Education Association contract.
Hey, Dr. Labby, we have some presentations.
Yes, I do. As we all know, we're taking the time during all of our Board of Education meetings to celebrate some very, very special people in the district. Today, we have a great meeting planned for you so that we can celebrate both staff and students. So let's start by celebrating the accomplishments of some very special students. Mr. McEnroe, can you join me in recognizing two very, very special students in the area of technology? And Mrs. Paul, is Mrs. Paul in the audience today? She's not, oh, here she, Sandy, can you come on up here with us too and join us in this?
We have two award winners in the National Center for Women in Information Technology. It's called the Aspirations in Computing Award for school year 2015-16. First is Giovanna Antoni here. She was the local runner-up in the competition. Come on up. Congratulate you. And you stay up here. I'll take a picture, and I'm going to read the narrative here. We also have the local winner and the national runner-up, Megillah S. She asked me not to pronounce her last name. And I'll read the certificate. And this is the same language on both. It says, your personal commitment to quality education and computing management, your valued participation in this extracurricular activity, and your readiness to render service in seeking computing leadership excellence has contributed immeasurably to the Sayreville Public School System. On behalf of our teachers, staff, administrators, parents, students, Board of Education members, and the community, we thank you for your dedicated service in this outstanding activity.
It's on? Ms. Connery, could you come up?
This is primarily Ms. Connery's project to try and get more young women in the area of information technology and computer science. So I want to acknowledge Ms. Connery for coming up with this idea of the girls to apply for the NC WIT Awards. And one of the things I must say that I'm very proud that we now have more young ladies that are going to be in IT, and I won't feel alone after a while by attending all these meetings, and I'm the only female. Thank you to everyone. Thanks to the parents for coming, and thank you for supporting these wonderful young ladies. Thank you.
Hey, Mom and Dad, anybody else take a picture? Come on up. Thank you guys very much. Congratulations. And by the way, Miglia is extraordinary too in doing our videos, and we can't thank her enough for doing that too. We also have several very special students to celebrate today for their efforts and accomplishments on the basketball court. And to assist me with one of our groups, I asked Mr. Esposito to join me up front.
Thank you, Dr. Labby, and thank you, Mr. McEnone, for allowing me to present this particular one. It's near and dear to my heart. We're here to, one of my favorite things on the board is to celebrate academic achievements from our students, and in this case, athletic achievements. It's a lot of fun to recognize these young men and women, and in this case, we're celebrating a girls' basketball team that has won the second straight White Division champions, 2 years in a row. The first person, I don't have the certificates. Someone give them to me. But the first person I'd like to bring up so she can greet her team.
He's got the frame. That's it. That's
Oh,
it.
that's it? Oh, I don't, oh, because the girls come all at once? Okay, great. So I'm going to, in one moment, I'll ask all the girls and Coach Cook and her staff to come up and accept this plaque. These are amazing young women. I've known all of them since they were about third grade. I've seen them play recreation basketball all the way through their high school years. And I've had a front row seat for all those years. They're amazing young girls when they were in fourth grade, and they're amazing young women today. And the best part, ladies and gentlemen, is next year most of the team is coming back, so Coach, we expect a three-peat and maybe a state championship. Okay, no pressure though. Coach Cook, could you bring your girls up?
Once again, big hand for the Lady Bombers basketball team, the GMC White Division champions. Now, this past winter, they were not the only GMC White Division champions. Our boys basketball team also had an incredible year as well. So I'm going to invite Mr. Walsh to come on up here and say a few words about our boys team, and then we'll ask Mr. Wojcik to bring his team up, and maybe Mr. Wojcik would like to make a few comments as well. Or not.
It's my honor to congratulate the boys basketball team on an extremely successful season. They showed heart, determination, focus, teammanship. Just a bunch of kids who worked hard. John Wooden said it's the little details that are vital Little things make big things happen. And it's the little things that we don't always get to see. We see the success on the court, but it's the little things that I know Coach Wojcik demands. Hard work, whether it's in the weight room, in the off season, in the gym, doing plyometrics, doing the right thing in the classroom, working hard every day. It's a great group of guys, and I'm going to call up Coach Wojcik, or as the old-time Sayreville people call him, Coach Wojcik, to come up and honor his team, talk a little bit about the White Division Championship, Sayreville Bombers boys basketball team. He's a man of few words.
Give another big hand to our White Division boys basketball team, GMC White Division champions. And as I said earlier, we're also recognizing and celebrating some very special staff members tonight who won some very special awards. And I know that there are representatives from those organizations that are here with us tonight. So I would first like to ask Mrs. Bloom to join me up front. And is there anyone from the William Peterson Award, the organization giving that out? Come on up. And maybe what we can do is have our representatives from the organization kind of explain what the William Peterson Award is.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the board for letting us have this opportunity tonight. I'm Pam Gunter from the Arleth School Library Media Center, and I'd like to introduce Patricia Glave, who is the president of the Union Middlesex Association of School Librarians, who will present the award to Susan Steinhardt, who is the library media specialist at Wilson School.
Hi. The William Peterson Award is given in honor of a former president of our association to a member who has advanced the role of school library media centers by developing outstanding school library media program integral to the education community. This year's recipient was described by her nominator as one of the most passionate school librarians I know. She works in a very small media center with access to the least amount of technology, yet tirelessly strives to adapt and improve the library and the services offered to students and staff. She takes an active role in school-wide programs and seeks out opportunities to collaborate with colleagues to elevate their impact on student experience. From storytelling to Battle of the Books and the many projects she has initiated, she gives her all to each and every project and encourages her students to do the same. With her Kind Words project, she ties technology to a lesson in compassion. She initiated the Bedazzled Awards, a monthly character trait program. She has addressed behavior issues in the library and lunchroom with a positive incentive program where students can earn the class special activities by collecting tokens for good behavior. She's an active member of our association as a long-term member at large and also of the New Jersey Association of School Librarians, most recently volunteering to handle registration for 2 of our annual conferences when no one else would step up. I am thrilled to be able to award Susan Steinhardt from the Wilson Elementary School the William A. Peterson Award.
I want to tell Pam that I didn't recognize her because she's not dressed like Dr. Seuss. It's the only time I see her when I go to read. She looks like a normal person tonight. I'm going to read the presentation from the board. In grateful appreciation, the school district of Sayreville, New Jersey presents this certificate of excellence to Susan Steinhardt for being presented with the William A. Peterson Award, Union Middlesex Association of School Librarians, school year 2015-2016. Your personal commitment to quality education and library media management, your valued participation in this aspect of your career, and your readiness to render service in seeking library media leadership excellence has contributed immeasurably to the Sayreville Public Schools system. On behalf of our teachers, staff, administrators, parents, students, Board of Education members, and community, we thank you for your dedicated service in this aspect of your career. Congratulations. No, you can't put my picture. There we go.
Thank you for acknowledging us. I just want to say thank you to Pam for nominating me, Tricia for selecting me, and the UMAZA board and the board for acknowledging this. Thank you. Dedication and hard work does pay off. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, and we have one more very, very special person to recognize. And to assist us in doing that, I'm going to ask Mrs. Jenkins to join us up front, as well as a representative from the New Jersey School Nutrition Association. Is that the NJSNA? As well as Mrs. DePinto.
I'm really bad with the stationary mic, so I have to move that. I'm sorry. No, I'm good. I'm good now. All right, yeah, I'm Trey. Hi. Hello. So my name is Sal Valenza. I'm the president of the New Jersey School Nutrition Association, and we're the association of school nutrition professionals in the state. We have over 700 members, and we're here tonight to honor Nancy Menino, who is our manager of the year. Couple of just quick things that I want to say. I called Shelley today to talk to her about Nancy. And you know when you ask somebody a question and they say, you know, I'm not really sure what to say about her, and then they talk to you for about a half hour about the person. You know that's the kind of person that just does everything. I got some interesting things out of her. I got that she never says no. You should start doing that every now and then. You're going to get yourself in trouble. That she always is innovative, looking for things to do with the kids, loves to get the kids involved in the cafeteria, making sure that nutrition is a part of their day, that's part of their education. And we all know how important that is. I got that you're a sponge, which I thought was interesting. And the lady who just spoke before me said something about bedazzling. You've bedazzled shirts for your staff?
Oh, yes, I did.
That's nice. Another, just a couple, as I said, I'll be quick. I was driving down and Janet Seeley, who is sitting right there, stand up for a second and say hello, wave. So Janet goes all around the state and does training for the School Nutrition Association. And she was driving down from North Jersey, and I was driving down here on the way, and I talked to her, and I told her where I was going, and she said, okay, I'm coming too, because Nancy's been at all of my trainings, and I love her. So I thought that that was a really great way to show how much people respect you in our industry. The other thing that I'd like to ask is, there are how many people that work with you here? Can you guys stand up and come stand with her? So I just think it's great to see that they all came here because they respect her that much, and really love working with her. I just quickly talking to them, I got that. So what I'm giving to you right now is the New Jersey School Nutrition Association Award to Nancy Menino, Manager of the Year 2016, for extraordinary commitment to your school meal programs and the students you serve. So thank you very much. We're very proud that you're our nominee.
I would like to read what the board is presenting Nancy with, which I've personally worked with Nancy for quite a number of years, and it is true, Nancy can never say no. Especially when it is for the children, Nancy cannot say no. So in grateful appreciation for the school district of Sayreville, New Jersey, we present this certificate of excellence to Nancy Menino for being named New Jersey School Nutrition Association Manager of the Year Cafeteria School Year 2015-16. Your personal commitment to quality education and nutrition management, your valued participation in this aspect of your career, and your readiness to render service in seeking nutritional leadership excellence has contributed immeasurably to the Sayreville public school system. On behalf of our teachers, staff, administrators, parents, students, Board of Education members, and community, we thank you for your dedicated service in this aspect of your career.
And on behalf of her coworkers, we would like to congratulate Nancy for all of her hard work and efforts and by receiving this award. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I get great medals too.
Thank you. And that's good.
And once again, we'd like to congratulate all the wonderful people that we recognize and honor today. Again, the most valuable resource that we have as a school district is certainly our staff members and obviously our students. So congratulations to all. So parents that are here for the presentation, we have a great stimulating budget presentation coming up next. But if you choose not to be here for that, this is your time to exit stage left. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck listening to this very stimulating and entertaining budget presentation.
I didn't do this. Tell him, See if it works. She told me. What did he say, brief? Yeah, it's like this is in my budget presentation. This is way more what's $95.
Okay, Board of Education members and members of the public. Today's a very special meeting as well because this is the meeting where we conduct our formal budget hearing so that the public can provide comment before the board has an opportunity to vote on the 2016-17 budget. Obviously, the budget process, as you have witnessed through several of our presentations this year, is a collaborative process, beginning with the Board of Education, extending through the central and building administration, obviously involving our directors and coordinators, our faculty, staff, and of course, there have been plenty of opportunities for the public to provide comments, suggestions, and to ask questions. Here's our mission. There are presentations there, so I'm going to go briskly through the presentation this evening. I'll go briskly through the slides. Feel free to take the time that you need to read each slide. 2 years ago, we adopted a very special vision. It's a vision called Vision 2030, and it actually is preparing long-term for the future of our current first graders. How are we able to prepare them for the workforce, for society in 2030 when they graduate from college? Back at the beginning of this school year, we presented to the board a series of goals, our 2015-16 goals that extend through to 2016-17. Here they are. Here is, the next slide is our current enrollment compared to our previous enrollment. This does not include, by the way, our out-of-district students. You could probably tack on, well, we're hoping to bring that number down to somewhere around 60 to 65 students next year, if some of the strategies and tactics that we put in place this year have the impact that we're hoping that they will for next year. But this does not include our out-of-district students. As you can see, our enrollment is significantly climbing with each year. We've talked about this at previous board meetings due to several construction projects, some of which are projects in lieu of taxes. Our enrollment is going to increase significantly over the next 10 years. We began the budget process off in December with a series of presentations leading up to this evening's public hearing and hopeful Board of Education adoption. Beyond this date, Mr. DeAndrea will submit the final approved budget to the Department of Education, and hopefully we'll get a submission for the tax certificate somewhere by the end of the month. We faced many challenges when developing this budget. You've heard us talk about the fact that we had about a $9 million deficit. About $6 million of that $9 million was related to capital projects. We have a very aging district. Our facilities are in need of reparations. We are potentially going to need new buildings to meet the rising student population increase, or the rise in student population. Some other things that impacted us is increase in special education enrollment. I've talked about it at our Board of Education meetings. Just since January, we have received at least 7 students that came into the district that required an out-of-district placement because they were currently in an out-of-district placement in their previous school district. Obviously, when we're preparing a budget, we're planning for the future, looking to maintain our school system, looking to raise student standards, protecting our investments and our capital, and providing professionalism. We have developed a 3-year strategic action plan. We are in year 2 of it. Within that action plan, we have aggressive goals designed to try to raise revenue to support future budgets. In fact, on the superintendent's report this evening, you'll see a request for proposal where we're looking to find an advertising agency to assist us in generating advertising revenue. We're looking to increase the achievement for all of our students, but paying particular attention to our at-risk students. That includes general and special education students at risk of failing, trying to enhance the school climate and culture, and improve staff morale. When maintaining our school district, we're employing several different strategies which are funded through this budget: the purchase of textbooks, professional services, a new data warehousing software, the replacement of technology hardware with what are called virtual desktops, and that's for our staff members, the continuation of before and after school tutoring, but looking to include mathematics tutoring, and instructional resources and software. We're also looking to enhance the school climate and culture. you'll see in this budget, we're asking you to approve an additional guidance counselor at the Samsell Upper Elementary School. There'll be over nearly 1,200 students there next year, potentially. There's only one guidance counselor. In order to focus on the needs of our at-risk students, to provide the appropriate social and emotional assistance, as well as character development, we need another guidance counselor there. Oh, sorry. We're also looking to prevent harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Improving staff morale, we're looking for a way through these guidance counselors to provide additional time for our grades 1 through 5 teachers to input their response to intervention data. We're looking to increase half professional days. We talked about that at our last meeting through the elimination of one of our parent-teacher conference dates. Thanks to the work of Dr. Shediak and Mrs. Johnson, we received a grant to provide coaching and consultation to our teachers. And of course, Mrs. Johnson is working hard in her very innovative approach to provide more course opportunities through Sayreville University for all of our staff members. Particularly, what are we going to try to do to raise student standards? If you recall the survey that we presented last week, one of the things our teachers mentioned was they don't feel that they have the resources, the tools, to effectuate the changes they want in student achievement. So we're looking to try to provide them with tools. One of the key tools that we're using to monitor the progress of our at-risk students is RTIM Direct. We're going to use that both in general and special education. This budget will also fund new textbooks for the high school math continuum. Textbooks that prepare us for the next generation science standards. Some additional social studies resources. Alternative literacy programs and software, such as Project Read in literacy, as well as Achieve 3000 in the middle school. Not noted in this are leveled readers for our elementary schools. Obviously, we're still looking to continue with something that's been very successful. Dr. Shediak worked very hard with our principals to implement a very special program called the Literacy Academy. It takes place 2 times a week in the morning for our at-risk readers. We're also looking to include a math academy so that we can do the same for those students as well. This budget will help fund that. Obviously, the continuation of funding our English language arts and math basic skills teachers. We're real excited. We introduced a new math software last year to the Samsell School. We had a site license for Samsell on ST Math. It's a research-proven effective software to assist students in developing their mathematic conceptual knowledge as well as skill ability. This year, we're actually going to get a site license through this budget for every elementary school in the district. We're also going to continue with another very powerful math software called IXL Math. We believe it gives our students the 1-2 punch in mathematics. We're creating a high school multiple disabilities program. Currently, we have 4 to 5 8th graders in our multiple disabilities program that if we do not have a multiple disabilities program in the high school, they will go to a private out-of-district school. Not only is that a fiscal burden, but these students deserve to be in the least restrictive environment with their typically developing peers. We're going to utilize our contracted behaviors to begin providing our teachers with positive behavioral support, and we're also going to contract with a professional service to work with our school avoidance students at the high school. They provide intensive psychiatric care to some of our students suffering from anxiety, depression, and any other forms of psychiatric disorders that inhibit them from being able to come to school. Here are some key educational appropriations. Again, I won't go through each one, but you can take a look at those. Obviously, again, we have an aging district. Our schools in our district average about 30 years of age, some more. We have to protect our investment. We have to continue to maintain the quality of our schools, and our custodians do a magnificent job with our maintenance and our grounds workers in making our schools and our grounds sparkle and shine. We have to continue to do that, not only for the obvious aesthetic reasons, but to preserve these buildings, because they are all we have. Here are some of the things that are in the budget that would go into our day-to-day facilities and maintenance. However, there are some projects that require us to list them as capital projects due to the cost for them. As I mentioned earlier, when we looked at the needs of the district, that totaled about $6 million. This budget would not allow for us to do that. So we had to cut 3/4, if not more, of those projects. These are the projects remaining. The state assessment is a payment that we make to the state. Don't confuse that with it. For the ROD grants. We have to list that as capital projects. That's not an actual reparation. As I mentioned earlier, in this budget, we are going to a new, innovative approach to replacing old technology hardware. As we all know, technology hardware expires. Oh, my Boston accent just snuck out there. It expires after about 3 to 5 years. By taking an innovative approach, Mr. Glock Malloy has taken us down the virtual highway. Now we can use, what do we call those? The type of computer with the virtual desktop on it is a thin client. We can use a thin client. Basically, it's a computer without a hard drive, and through the virtual desktop, our teachers at the secondary level will be able to log on to their computer anywhere they want, anywhere that they can get Wi-Fi. Building professionalism. We talked about adding professional days, providing more opportunities for teacher coaching, as well as more courses in our new Teacher Institute, as well as our Curriculum and Instruction Teacher Institute. Board of Education members, we proposed a preliminary budget to you several weeks ago. We have made some adjustments to that. We were recently informed that we have some savings from our health care carrier, potentially. So we readjusted the budget to include these figures, as well as, again, I talked about that Effective School Solutions. With their help, we were able to bring back several students from out-of-district placements. We were able to finalize that several of our students in out-of-district placements were graduating. So we made adjustments as well to our private out-of-district tuition line. As we all know, personnel costs comprise of more than 3/4 of our budget. In this particular case, about 80% goes toward personnel costs. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with the budget crisis that we had, not only were we forced to cut capital projects, as well as many, many other line items, I compliment and commend our Finance Committee for the meticulous attention to detail that they went through with us on several days for many hours, going line by line. And I think Mr. Sayak noted, he even noted one line in which we reduced it by $45. Nothing was left unexposed. Everything was scrutinized, and there were many, many cuts, including, unfortunately, cuts in personnel. And here they are. With the savings that we incurred through our new health carrier proposal, we were able to propose that two positions that were recently unbudgeted that would be that multiply disabled teacher position, to have our multiply disabled program here at the high school. It was going to be unbudgeted. We were able to budget it. And I mentioned earlier the rise in special education enrollment, particularly preschool. Our preschool is booming. Not only our tuition-based preschool program, but our students that are eligible for preschool special education has increased significantly, requiring us to have to hire an additional teacher in that area. And I mentioned earlier, we are in desperate need of a guidance counselor at the Samsell Upper Elementary School. One of the things our teachers noted on their surveys was they spend an exorbitant amount of time working with children on their behavior. Our teachers also noted that they spend a great deal of time trying to motivate our children. A guidance counselor at that school will greatly impact both of those areas. If you were to break up personnel costs, obviously instruction would take up 50% of it, and then health benefits, another 25%. Here's our operating budget comparison. It provides you the difference between last year's budget as well as the percentage of the budget. Here's a better visual of that information. As you can see again, instruction takes up about 50% of that. And then healthcare about another 20%. We do have appropriations from special revenue funds. We've talked about these before. These are entitlement grants. The monies that we receive must be used in these specific areas. The money we get from special education, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, you can see, provides us with the greatest amount of money within these grants. Our debt services fund, here's our total revenue comparison. As you can see by this visual, our local tax levy is responsible for 70% of the revenue, and we get about 25% state aid. We've mentioned this before. Many districts have complained to the Department of Education and protested to the Department of Education about the fact that their district is being shorted because the state is not providing aid to districts in accordance with the formula that the state created. In Sayreville, each year, we are shorted about $18 million. According to the state funding formula, we receive $18 million less per year than what we should. Here's that special revenue fund, which matches the appropriation I mentioned before. Here's the debt services. If you did a revenue analysis, our total budget is $90 million. And you see our special revenue fund as well as our debt services fund. When looking at what the average homeowner will pay, and the average homeowner is a home worth $144,000, this is the comparison between last year and this year. As you can see, debt services is going down slightly, as well as the tax impact. Last year, the tax impact was $121. This year, the tax impact will be $95 for a home valued at $144,000. And according to Mr. DeAndrea, the reason for that is because property values increased. Yep. which caused the tax rate to lower. Board of Education members, any questions?
On the changes you made to the budget, from the last budget to this budget, I'd like to know the logic in, I see you wanted to add a guidance counselor, but you reinstituted the position of supervisor in buildings and grounds. Why do you feel that reinstituting that position is more important than, say, the assistant superintendent position that we cut?
Well, let me first say that both of those positions are very, very important. It's no secret that we'll be going into next year with not only one less assistant superintendent, with a brand-new business administrator. One of the things that our teachers, our parents, and our students noted on that survey that I had been mentioning throughout this, unanimously, they remarked upon the cleanliness and the safety of our buildings. And again, our custodians, our maintenance workers, our grounds workers do a tremendous job of making sure that these aging facilities are clean and safe. However, with the new funds that we were able to have, again, prior to being able to, prior to knowing that we might have that savings, that was a position that was cut. But when we learned word that we were going to have those savings, again, going into a new year and being able to ensure that our buildings continue to be as clean, as sanitary, as safe as they have been in the past was a priority. The assistant superintendent position is one that, while I'm not happy about, is one that I can do. I can fill that void. I'll have to fill that void. That's yet another hat that I'll have to wear. I cannot be the supervisor of custodians, too.
I understand that, but my concern is next year, we're going to be without an assistant superintendent, and we also do not have a director of special services, but we do have a director.
It's correct. You have a director of special services.
No, we don't. We have one person, though, who does both jobs.
So
then we're going to have one person.
But you have a person that's acting as a director of special services right now.
Right, but one body to do 3 jobs, yet we have a director of buildings and grounds. Why can't that director assume that responsibility instead of having one person pulling 3 jobs?
Based upon the fact, again, and I know that this is a question that's probably going to come up next year too, and we'll have to deal with it next year as a board. But the fact of the matter, that supervisor custodian's position has been in this budget for a very long time. Going into a new school year with a new business administrator, it's my feeling that, number one, we need a supervisor of custodians and an experienced transportation director. Because that's another position that we do have to fill. And we were trying to be creative by asking our supervisor of custodians to train to be that position. However, that's when desperate times called for that. But when we learned that we would have these new funds, again, that's an opportunity to put that person back in the position where she has been doing such a magnificent job of ensuring that our buildings look the way they do and are as safe as the way they are, but also providing us the opportunity to ensure that there is an experienced transportation coordinator as well. And again, yes, there is going to be an increased workload, but I am going to incur that workload.
We had also discussed the boiler at Slover that we had cut because it was on its last legs, but it was too expensive. It was one of the capital projects that were cut. And we had discussed at the finance level, if there was any extra money, it might be prudent to put it in a capital reserve just in case that boiler went.
And preservations were made for that. Preservations were made for that, and as you can see, $115,000 from that $300,000 savings is going to be used for those purposes too.
For the $650,000 boiler if it breaks.
But we made concessions during our finance committee that sometime between the end of this school year and the beginning of next year, at some point next year, we would have the opportunity to transfer some money into capital reserve as our insurance policy, just in case that $650,000 boiler should go down.
And where are we, is that money going to come from to make that transfer?
From the fund balance that we have. We discussed that. That was a preservation that we made at that time prior to even learning that we would have this savings of $300,000. We made those precautions then.
But from where? Do you know where that money was coming from? Do you, by any chance? No?
From the unexpended funds.
So unexpended funds. So we're going to have unexpended funds to the tune of $650,000 to cover the boiler?
There are currently $300,000 in capital reserve.
Okay.
We're counting on being able to use at least $300,000 from unexpended funds through fund balance, at some point transferring that monies into capital reserve so that we have at least $600,000 to $650,000 in capital reserve just in case that boiler were to go down.
And what about the middle school, the sinking problem, where that's not listed here, so is that coming?
That's already been addressed, Mr. DeAndrea.
Is that coming, I thought that was coming out of the $300,000 in the reserve.
No,
Where's that money coming from?
The direction we received from the Facilities Committee was to take that out of this year's operating budget.
Okay, and how much was that going to cost?
With, the estimates were between 80 and 100,000,
Okay, so that's coming out of the operating budget, not out of the capital reserve, for this current year?
this current year.
So that would decrease the fund balance. When you gave the surplus estimate, was that included? Was that
What I
deducted?
used is, when I was working with the committee, is I took a the 5 prior year averages of total expenses against the total budget, and that's what I used. It was roughly around 96% is the average for the last 5 years, so that's how I used to estimate how much the expenditures were gonna be. at
The
that point,
expenditure for what?
for this current year, and how much surplus we would generate, or unexpended funds.
But when the Facilities Committee decided to take that money out of the operating budget of this year,
Again, I just used the 96% as an estimate to use.
okay, did you use that before or after you knew about taking the money out of this year's?
That's just a number I've used, 96 from the beginning, from the first time we met. I didn't adjust it for
So the surplus estimate was just
additional
a
items.
percentage?
Excuse me?
The surplus estimate is just a percentage number you use?
I used a 5-year average of 96% as to how much the board generally spends on their budget on an average year. And that's how I used the calculation to determine the surplus number. I didn't use actuals because things fluctuate on a yearly basis, so I took a 5-year average.
Any other questions?
How much was the budget cut for when you first started till you balanced it to what we're presenting tonight? Total amount of money?
About $9 million.
9 million. Any other questions for open up for the public? Open up for the public for any questions on the budget only. I will open up for the public later for any business may come before the board. Any questions on the budget? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion on the budget, and we'll, I guess we could vote for the budget when we vote for the superintendent's question. Can you take us through your report very briefly? Okay, first of all, we have the minutes from the regular and executive session. If anybody have any questions, comments, deletions, additions to the meeting minutes?
I have a question on the minutes.
Question on minutes, go.
There's a comment in the minutes, it said Mrs. Batko had concerns about the SAD trip, and Dr. Labby explained the rationale. I didn't have concerns about the SAD trip. I had a question about the equity and how we determine how we pay for trips, and that's what Dr. Labby had explained. It really, the SAD trip was on there, and it was just used as an example.
Okay, you can make that
But if you could change that,
clarification
I'd
on that?
appreciate it.
Can you, what page?
9.
Anything else? Anybody else have any comments, questions, deletions to the minutes? If not, accept the motion to accept and file.
Had concerns about the equity of field trips?
The equity and how we determine the spending on field trips.
I need a motion.
If I can have just 1 second. Equity of spending of field trips.
Somebody say so moved.
So moved.
Very good. Somebody say second. Second. Anthony, was that you?
That was me, yes.
Can you, take a roll call vote for the file of minutes, please?
Mr. Balco?
Yes.
Mrs. Bacco?
Yes.
Mr. Bishada?
Yes.
Mrs. Blair?
Yes.
Mrs. DePinto?
I was not here, I will be abstaining.
Abstain? Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. McEnon?
Yes. District highlights, Mrs. Backer.
Second grade teachers at Truman Elementary School applied for the Captain Planet Foundation Grant, which is a nationally competitive grant for 16 schools or nonprofit organizations in the U.S. We have recently been notified that Truman School has been awarded $2,500 to put towards school projects, one of which includes a school garden and different ways to irrigate, fertilize, and maintain it. They will be working with the Borough of Sayreville and Middlesex County in furthering environmentally friendly practices. Congratulations. Mrs. Laura Mihalenko, the tag teacher at Arlith Elementary School, has been chosen to attend the Mickelson Exxon Mobil Teachers Academy. The academy is a one-week training program where she'll learn about math and science in fun ways with other teachers from across the country. She is one of 154 teachers that have been selected to attend this year. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mrs. Backer. Take us through your report, Dr. Lab,
ABC, right?
with emphasis on the B.
Okay, Board of Education members, if I can direct your attention to the superintendent's report now. Finance and infrastructure, beginning with number 1. Obviously, we're asking you to approve the proposed budget for fiscal year 2016-17. You can find that long resolution on pages 2 and 3. In addition to that, number 2, we're asking your approval for procurement of third-party employee retirement plan administration services. And we're asking you to authorize the business administrator to solicit and receive informal quotations from prospective vendors, and obviously award a contract for those that are proposed. You can find that on page 3. Similar to that, on page 4, we're asking you to approve the procurement of online payment management services, and as well authorize the business administrator to solicit and receive informal quotations from prospective vendors. That can be found on page 4. Number 4, we're asking you to approve the Teamsters holiday schedule for 2016-17. You can find that on page 5. We're asking you also to approve a professional services agreement with Bayada Nursing. If you're familiar with our current contract with Bayada, we have a contract with Bayada out of the Piscataway office. However, we actually have a student that's in a hospital up north by Totowa, and we need to provide nursing services for that student. And the Piscataway office would not do it, and they actually forced us to go into a purchase professional services agreement with their Totowa office. So we're asking you to approve that contract. That can be found on pages 5 and 6. We do have some building permits we're asking you to approve, but I am saying, if you could note this, we're withdrawing number 8. We are withdrawing number 8. We will not be able to do number 8. We've already communicated this to Recreation. They're in full agreement with it, by the way. We need that time for our high school to prepare for graduation. So please withdraw number 8. Numbers 28 and 29, which can be found on page 8 through 10, we're asking you to approve the renewal of regular and special education transportation routes. There is a 0% increase. Number 31, we're asking you to allow 10 board buses to be used to transport students and chaperones to South Brunswick. You can find that on page 11. Number 32, we're asking you to approve 2 board buses to shuttle guests attending graduation at the high school from Kennedy Park. You can find that on page 11. Number 33, we have several student trips with transportation costs. You can find that on pages 11 through 13. Number 34, we have 2 out-of-district tuition contracts for 2 students with disabilities. Again, I mentioned before, these are 2 students that just moved into Sayreville. As well as we have a bedside tutoring contract for you to approve for a child that was hospitalized. And similar to some previous resolutions, I believe it was numbers 3 and 4, we're asking you to authorize the Board of Education Secretary as well as Business Administrator to solicit competitive contract proposals for that advertising agency that we spoke about earlier, one way in which we're trying to generate revenue. So that is a request for proposal that we're asking you to approve. Any questions on finance and infrastructure?
Just make sure the copy of your budget slides and the budget is online once we approve the final budget.
Yes, sir.
On the website. Go ahead.
The advertised budget is already on the website.
Yeah,
though.
but the final budget
Right.
that we approved.
Yep. Moving on to student achievement. Number one, we're asking you to approve the use of non-public funds for 2 students to receive tutoring at St. Stan's, and that's for this school year. There are actually 2 teachers there that we're asking you to approve to receive compensation for that. And finally, we have 2 co-curricular activities that we're asking you to approve, and you can find that on page 14. Any question on student achievement? Seeing none. Governance, we're asking you to approve the standard April HIB report as well as any recommendations made by me to you. You can find that on pages 14 through 16. We also have some policies that we're asking you to approve for a first reading. One is a policy and regulation. It's our drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and steroids, or substance abuse policy, as well as its regulation. And finally, we have a photograph of pupils, and basically we revised the photograph of pupils policy to include drones. It is illegal to fly a drone over the school to take pictures of our students and staff and so forth.
Could you highlight what the changes were in the other 2 policies?
They should have been.
No, I mean, can you highlight them?
Basically, there were so many highlights to that, mostly language changes, as well as some process changes to the approach that we take in which we're investigating whether a child is under the influence of a substance. One of the main changes to that is the inclusion of our student assistance counselors or coordinators in that process. Our policy did not quite clearly reflect their participation in that process, not only with the student, but with the parents when the parents come in. We also tightened up the language with regard to students going out for their examinations, the time period in which we expect to get those examinations back, and the time period in which we have to share both the parent and school district, because if a parent goes to their private physician, there's a specific time period in which they must share the results with us. We also included things like those electronic cigarettes and other new types of things in accordance with what New Jersey school boards and our attorneys were recommending that we include in that policy.
Dr. Labby?
Yes.
We're taking out the advisory to, that the principals would make before each event. We're taking that language out on photography?
On what?
The photography policy?
Yes, yes. It used to be that before a principal started something, they would tell parents that they can't post any of these pictures on Facebook and things like that. In this technology era, that's not happening, especially when the superintendent's at board meetings and at the various functions taking pictures and tweeting them himself. So it would be quite hypocritical.
So you're saying they can post them now?
We're saying that it's not appropriate to provide a disclaimer anymore. They're going to do it anyway. It doesn't protect us if we put that advisement out or not.
Okay, and the attorney agreed with that?
When we checked,
Yes?
it might not have been. We spoke with Doug about that.
It wasn't me, it was another attorney from my office.
Any further questions on governance? Moving along to personnel. We're asking you to approve several leaves of absence. Number 1 can be found on pages 16 and 17. Number 2, we're asking you to hire a high school assistant spring track coach. You can find that on page 17. Also asking you to approve the hiring of a replacement physical education teacher on page 17. Numbers 4 and 5, we're asking you to renew our certificated and non-certificated instructional staff. Those particular staff members can be found in attachment A and B, which are up at the table. Board members, you have a copy yourselves. Numbers 6 and 11, which can be found in the addendum, we're asking you to approve professional days, and you can find it on page 18 as well as the addendum. Numbers 7 through 9, we're asking you to accept the resignation of several teachers, a special education teacher here at the high school, a special education teacher at Truman, and a 3rd grade teacher at Truman. And finally, we're asking you to approve the hiring of a part-time professional at Project Before, just for the remainder of the 2015-16 school year. And that can be found in the addendum. Any questions to personnel?
Okay, number 4, attachment A, Vicky Kilpatrick, I'm going to abstain on. And on number 5, attachment B, Amy Lembo, I'll abstain on.
I have a question on attachment A. Under the teacher section, I understand it says 2015-16 because we don't have a 16-17. But on the last page where it has, so the other two, for the supervisor contract and the principal contract, those are the contractual raises that are in their current contracts. And on the last page, we have the assistant superintendent 16-17. Is this, it doesn't say 15-16, so is this a raise included in that number?
It's just the renewal right now. That's a separate contract that you'll have to approve. And that's a separate contract that the executive county superintendent would have to approve before you actually get a chance to approve it as a Board of Education. All we're asking you to do right there is to renew the contract.
Okay, that wasn't my question. My question was the salary here. It's listed under 16-17, and then is it a 16-17 salary or is it a 15-16?
Then that's an error. It should be a 15-16 because her 16-17 salary has to be approved by you after the executive county superintendent approves it.
So this salary is 15-16, not 16-17?
It's her current salary.
Okay, and is there any reason why we just have some of the staff and not all the staff? This is just paraprofessionals and certificated. What about the others?
Correct. According to the statute, we're required to inform our instructional staff if they're going to be renewed or not by May 15th. We're not required to do that for non-certificated staff.
Okay. And are you required to do that for paraprofessionals too?
Because they're instructional. They're
Because
considered instructional.
Okay.
Go ahead, John.
There's also a specific provision in the statute a couple years ago, I think under Corzine, where paraprofessionals were added just job protection. So it's not just that they're professional, they're actually specifically protected under the May 15th guideline as well.
Okay, so everything in attachment A and B includes all our instructional employees?
Correct. Any further questions on personnel? Seeing none? Thank you.
Have any questions, any further questions of the board? I'll open up to the public. Seeing none, at this time, open up to the public for any questions, comments on the agenda items only. I will open up again to the public for any business that may come before this board. Any questions, comments on the superintendent's report? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion, and I'll take a motion to accept and file the superintendent's report, which will include the budget. Okay, Mr. Sykes not here, so somebody say so moved.
So moved.
Very good.
Second.
Okay. Can I get a roll
And the
call?
second was Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Bowker?
I'm going to vote no on A, number 1, yes on all other items except noted.
A,
The budget.
No to the vote.
you're voting no on the budget?
Correct.
Yes to everything else?
Yes,
And
except
accept as
yeah.
noted. Mrs. Backer?
I'll be voting no on the budget. And just a comment on the policy, since it's first reading, I'll vote yes, but I would like if the attorney could supply rationale on what the gain is by removing that photography portion out of the policy. I'd appreciate it.
I'll ask Doug. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bashada?
I'll be voting no on the budget.
Can I just ask a question? The budget was proposed by the Finance Committee. Was there a reason why you're voting no, just so the rest of us could know?
We didn't agree with the changes
I'll
that
address
were.
my issues. My issues are that originally what happened is we had, I thought at least, there was two of the teachers for disability that were originally in the budget and found out that at the meeting last Thursday that they weren't. That's number one, okay? And the initial budget before this adjustment was made, I thought that these people were already in there. Okay, so the extra amount of money that was found, we'll use that terminology, we scraped and cut, like he said, $45 here and there. What happened is, this boiler, we actually took more out of the reserve than we should have taken out of the reserve. There's a reserve. You're allowed 2% of your budget that you put into reserve. We hit that number pretty hard to balance the budget, okay? The second thing is, that's the second. Third is that when they started cutting personnel, we all agreed about taking one person, the director, superintendent of facilities, and putting that person in the training as the bus coordinator. That's $75,000. That person's making $75,000 right now, plus the benefit package, okay? When you saw this modified sheet of items added and subtracted to the budget, do you see any notice in here what the healthcare costs are? The answer is no. Roughly, a healthcare package is roughly in the neighborhood anywhere around $15,000. So that's another $60,000 that comes up. You know, those are some of the issues. What the initial budget that I thought we were agreeing on, and we wound up with this extra income, I thought was going to go into the reserve account. That way, in case of an emergency, that we'd have the money to fall back on. But legally, if we need, we can petition the borough to borrow money from the borough, say for example, like a roof fell in, okay? But they don't have to do it. So we have to have a certain amount of money, and that's my reason, a fallback.
Continue.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes, except on attachment A, I have to abstain on Kevin Bloom.
Mrs. DePinto?
Yes.
Apologize.
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
I just have one question. What is our drop dead date for this budget if we were to address some of the issues brought up here this
May
evening?
9th.
May 9th. So we're not going to meet again beforehand as a
Currently,
group.
no.
I'm going to vote yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. McEnroe?
Yes. Next issue. Any committee meetings between now and the last meeting? Curriculum, we didn't have one. Finance and infrastructure, we just talked about that. Policy, Mr. Sykes not here. Personnel,
Nothing to report.
none report.
We had a curriculum meeting.
We did have a curriculum meeting, Reg, right? Go ahead, why don't you give us a brief synopsis of that?
Okay, we had a curriculum meeting on April 26th. We discussed the topic that was brought up here at the last meeting about the exemptions for seniors for final exams. Right now, the committee decided we were gonna look to get some more feedback on it and leave it for this year, and maybe we'll make changes for next year. And also, we also was looking for more data from the quarterlies. We didn't have that just yet, and Mrs. Eichner was going to get that for us for our next meeting. We discussed the park exam, and the refusals were down considerably from last year. And we talked about the graduation requirements, how many students been met. Do you have an update you could share with us since the meeting?
Down to, I think, five students total
Okay.
have not yet met a graduation requirement.
Okay,
we're
and that's what
still-
we had at the
And
meeting.
we're not done, we're still working on it, so.
Okay, and just to announce, the TAG committee had met, and there's going to be a parent information meeting on May 12th at the middle school, and the policy committee will be preparing a policy for next year for TAG. Is there any questions on curriculum? I just want to make one more comment. The healthcare committee did meet, and my opinion, I thought it went well. I thought the broker did a very good job of sharing information. He had quite a few handouts that he had given out. Actually, Dr. Labby, can you scan those handouts and get copies to the rest of the board that the broker provided the healthcare committee? The one suggestion the broker had that I'd like to mention to the board was to have quarterly meetings with the committee and the unions, and the committee thought that would be a good idea. So as of now, that's probably what we're going to do.
Okay, anything else? Under discussion, why did the Ed Council meeting date change initially? When is it now?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't know yet. Originally, what had happened is two of us couldn't make the meeting on the original date. I had picked the 24th, figuring that I knew everybody would be at the curriculum meeting, so I figured that was easy because everybody was available. But
May 24th.
yeah, but I don't think I got confirmation on that date anyway from the other side, so I'm not really sure when we're
Why
going to
don't,
have it just yet.
why don't we just have those dates, like, beginning of the year, set, then when we're gonna meet? So,
Well-
my concern is that when we change dates, there's a lot of meetings, and people serve on different meetings, and, you know, it steps on 2 other meetings, and that's a
I
problem.
know, but sometimes when you set a date a year in advance, it's hard to stick to.
But in the future, I think if we change the date, we need to send an email out to see who can make us. I didn't see that initial email until I saw the one that came out.
No, I had mentioned it way back in March to everyone that we were going to
That was
change
too
the
long
date.
ago.
Huh?
That was too long ago.
It was a long time ago, yes.
Okay, any other things for discussion? I got a letter from the Knights of Columbus inviting us on Saturday, June 11th, which is Flag Day. They're going to conduct a ceremony to honor the flag and honor servicemen and women who have fought and are still fighting to preserve our freedoms. It's going to be at the Knights of Columbus on Washington Road. Everybody wants to attend and display your patriotism? When we get things like this, is any way we can file these with the minutes, or what do we do with these initially?
Generally, they sit in my work folder.
Okay, all right.
Take a look at the back of that. What's the date on that?
Yep.
April
over.
28th.
No, this is this
So
date.
it's a fundraiser.
No. This is their Flag Day. They just reproduced this on
Right, but there was a
recycled paper.
benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was for the Knights of Columbus, the fundraiser. I assumed it was a two-sided flyer, and we just got it after it was over.
And I saw this online. This came out online. This was emailed too.
Oh, all right, no,
Yeah.
I got it on paper. Email.
Okay, no other discussion. I'll open up for the public for any business that come before this board.
John Bovary, 1210 Harbor Club Drive. It's not really new business, but I didn't have a chance to ask it the way the format was. Phyllis and Dan, could you please share, as Tom did, why you were anti the budget? And please explain to me, if 5 years happened to have done that, what we would have done tonight with the budget.
What was that last part, John?
What would we have done if 5 of you said no to the budget tonight? What would we have done? But more importantly, I want to know what we're opposed to, that's all.
Okay.
I'm opposed because we have positions in there that we're probably not going to be able to fund next year, so why create a temporary position for 1 year when we know it's going to get cut next year? Or we have strong feelings it will be cut next year.
I voiced most of my concerns and my questions that I asked Dr. Labby. I have concerns that we reinstituted a supervisor position when we have a director, and right now we're going to have one person doing an assistant superintendent, a superintendent, and director of special services position, and my fear is next year we're going to be asked to reinstitute some of these positions, and it's going to be a problem. I don't think that one person should be doing all. We do have a director of, I think that money would have been better sent to switch it around with the surplus, and we could have bought ourselves some more time to make a decision. I had thought the surplus, actually I didn't learn until tonight, I thought the surplus estimate was done a little more scientific than a percentage too.
Next.
My name is Ken Veers. I'm president of the Sayreville Education Association. And I want to ask a question first. The Finance Committee for the Board of Education. Who's on the Finance Committee?
Mr. Balka chairs it, Mrs. Bacco, and Mr. Bichat.
So the Finance Committee all voted against the budget that they helped put together? Is that right?
It appears so.
Okay.
Can I just address that?
Yeah.
We prepared a preliminary budget that we all voted on previously. The budget was changed for tonight.
Yeah, that's what I want to...
So it's the changes that I'm objecting to, that were made to the budget.
That's what I want to address. I take a look at the addendum here, the budget modification, and there's almost $376,000 in medical insurance savings. So that's great, right? That's great for the taxpayer. That's great for the employee that's paying a large share of the premium. But my question is, there's a new broker now. And as long as I've been here, Ryan Tola has represented or has been the insurance broker for the Board of Education. Am I correct in that assumption? That Ryan Tola, for at least 11 years, has been the insurance agent or broker for the Sayreville Board of Ed?
Is that true, Mr. Andrew? How long has Doyle Lyons been?
He has not been the broker, no.
No. Mr. DeAndrea, has Mr. Tola been the representative?
He has been a representative, yes.
Okay, so we're going to start mincing words now.
How many years? That's his question.
As I know, as long as I've been here, he's been a representative.
So again, I have to watch how I phrase the question. But again, Mr. Tola was with a company. He left that company and came here, or kept the business here in Sayreville. So my question as a union president and as someone that's very concerned about the taxpayer, when's the last time the Board of Education interviewed someone other than Ryan Tola for the position of broker? Being that the first year that we do that, there's $375,000 in savings. Can anyone answer that? When's the last time this Board of Education interviewed someone other than Mr. Tola?
3 months ago.
In other words, put out an RFP, and then from that RFP, interviewed different brokers to see what the best deal was.
When's the date we interviewed the current broker?
Oh, well, other than the current one, January, other than
that, I'm saying going back, let's go back the 11 years that I've been here, but we'll stay there, because I don't have any data other than that. Has the board, and who's been here? Mr. DeAndrea, you've been here longer than me. Has the board interviewed anyone else other than Mr. Tola for the position of broker for the health insurance in this district?
There was 2 companies that were, right, Brown & Brown and then Doyle Lyons. Those were 2 separate companies that Mr. Tola worked for both of them. Is that correct?
Yes. Did you interview anyone other than Mr. Tola?
We interviewed 2 companies that Mr. Tola worked for each of. Yes. No, the answer, we don't interview him. We interview the company.
So you put an RFP, when's the last time you put an RFP out?
It was last time we put RFP out.
I believe 2012 or 2011 was the last one.
And from that RFP, did you interview anyone other than Mr. Tola?
Yes.
You did. Can you provide the SEA documentation with that?
I would look, I believe there were 2 other proposals. I have them in my office.
Did you interview them?
Did I personally interview them? Yes.
Okay. Did the board? Did the Board of Education interview them?
No.
No.
So the Board of Education hasn't interviewed anyone other than this last time in January?
That's correct.
And how long? I'm just curious, how long has this been that we've had the same broker without exploring clearly $376,000 in savings?
I have not interviewed a broker since I've been here.
Wow. Thank you. Second, Mr. McEnone presented to the public a situation that has arisen here in Sayreville, where the taxpayer of Sayreville was paying for a prescription co-payment reimbursement benefit that many of the employees in the district did not get because they did not know about the benefit. So my question is this. Mr. DeAndrea, as the business administrator, is your job description or requirement to provide the Sayreville employees with the benefits that they have?
Mr. Veers, first of all, the board is good, I think, about answering questions. from the public, but the board is under, I mean, I'm representing the board here,
Sure,
I'm telling the
yeah.
board is under no obligation to answer those questions. It's nice when you can, but under the circumstances where it becomes an interrogation of sorts, I would recommend that you not answer questions like that.
This is not an interrogation, it's asking, all right, can I ask the board the question? Mr. McEnone, is Mr. DeAndrea's job description to present, is part of his job description to present or give the health insurance benefits to the employees of the district? Is he supposed, when someone gets hired, they come over to Sillover,
Right,
they get benefits, they get a benefits package.
they do.
Who's responsible for that, sir?
Business administrator. We don't have a human resources like most districts do.
Right, yeah,
Which
right.
that would normally fall into, so the business administrator office and his complex of employees, they do all these various different things.
Okay, so.
We have no dedicated human resource person that has a significant background in all of human resources.
Well, I understand that. I think, since I've been president, I became president in 2010,
I recall.
I have asked on numerous occasions to meet with the broker, to discuss different things with the broker, because the taxpayer should recognize that the Sayreville employee is paying the most out of anyone that I know of for health insurance benefits. So that's why it concerns me that, first of all, that clearly they haven't interviewed a broker. But second, I want to go back to Mr. DeAndrea's job role. And maybe, I don't want to interrogate Mr. DeAndrea, but maybe the board can answer this.
Again, let me restate what I was saying. Obviously, you don't want to interrogate any particular employee, but
No.
the board appreciates your comments and it's public comment, but it's not necessarily, and it's up to the board, but it's
They
not.
don't, right, they don't have to answer, but I can
Right.
ask the question.
You could say what you need to say. Obviously, you have every right to do that, Mr. Veers, but please, the board, and I'm instructing the board as their attorney,
Sure.
but you do not have to answer any questions. This is public comment, it's not public questions, just so everybody's clear on that.
Gotcha.
Do you mind if I ask a few questions?
No, I love talking with you. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So maybe you can answer this then.
Sure.
How long has the business administrator, Mr. DeAndrea, known about the healthcare prescription co-payment reimbursement in this district?
I don't know.
You don't know that answer.
I think that was something that's brought to his attention recently in the last 18 months.
So you think he's known for 18 months?
Yeah.
Okay, so in November 2015, I asked Mr. DeAndrea for the health insurance grids, which was only a couple months ago. And Mr. DeAndrea provided health insurance grids that did not have the prescription co-payment reimbursement in there.
You talking about the same prescription co-payment reimbursement that in excess of 50 of your members were utilizing? Is that the one you're talking about?
Excess of 50?
Is that the one you're talking about? I just want to make sure we're talking about the same
The only
thing.
thing that I have, the only thing, I'm asking this question, and clearly you don't want to answer it. Mr. DeAndrea, I asked for, in November 2015, because I negotiate for the Sayreville Education Association, I asked for the grids to show the employee benefits that we have, and the prescription co-payment reimbursement was not in the grids. And you just told me that Mr. DeAndrea has known about this benefit for 18 months.
When it was brought to his attention that that was a benefit that was available.
Well, don't you think he should let the employees know?
How about the 50-some-odd people that was using it?
No,
Well,
they're not
no,
there.
it's-
They're not at Sillover when we go there to get get the benefit.
But it was a known benefit
Okay.
that people were using,
A known benefit?
that people were using. Well, it wasn't violent. Listen, we had a meeting and when those came out, and you and I were there and learned about this at the same time. Do you recall that meeting?
Right.
Okay.
I'm just asking how long.
And when this came to light, and you voiced your concern about it, I had agreed with you. And at this microphone, I told you that I accept responsibility as the current president of the Board of Education to resolve this issue. And we made movement in that direction. We are working with our current healthcare provider, who has set up reimbursement tools that you agree has been being utilized. Yes?
I think, well.
Okay, answer's yes.
So-
And then the other healthcare provider.
First of all, don't be disrespectful, because I'm not being disrespectful. I'm asking you some questions that I think.
And I'm responding to your questions that you've asked me.
I didn't say yes there. You just kind of interjected.
I've answered all your questions that you're going to ask tonight. I've already
All right, all right,
answered for you.
Can
I already answered these questions for you, and now you decided to put on a loose show here in public for this.
Can I
okay?
just
And
sum
then,
up?
which I find laughable, is that all of a sudden Ken Veers, after 10 years of dealing with and negotiating with you on 4 different occasions, all of a sudden have a concern for the taxpayers. Just find that curious, but go ahead.
Okay, so let me just sum this up.
Sum it up.
So you, Mr. President, Mr. McEnone, has never interviewed any other potential broker for this district, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And how long have you been on the board?
11 years.
11 years, okay. And Mr. DeAndrea has known about the prescription co-payment reimbursement for 18 months.
Abouts,
Okay, thank you very much.
when it came to his attention. Thank you. Anybody else from the public like to speak?
The tone was disrespectful by the prior speaker, and this is an inappropriate forum for the topics. Take it to close.
No, it's an act I'm familiar with, John. Anybody else from the public like to speak? Seeing none, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you.